Welcome to The Explainer. Look, if you're a founder, an executive, or a global leader trying to find some strategic clarity in a world that feels like it's spinning faster literally every single day, this explainer is exactly what you need. Today, we're unpacking some absolutely incredible insights from Gawdat. He's the former chief business officer at Google X. We're going to look at this rapidly shifting AI landscape and fundamentally rethink how we lead, how we build, and how we adapt.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Mo points out a staggering reality. AI is changing everything every 2.5 days. Just pause and think about that pace for a second. 2.5 days. We are way past the era where you could just sit back and watch technology slowly evolve over decades. This unprecedented and frankly, kind of anxious pace, well, that's just the new baseline for the modern business world.
Which brings us to the million-dollar question, right? How on earth do you strategize when the board keeps changing? If you're a founder, you know exactly the pain point I'm talking about. You try to map out your market, secure your funding, set your targets, and boom, before the quarter is even over, a brand new generative AI model drops and entirely disrupts your whole business model. In this kind of unpredictable market, rigid forecasting doesn't just fall short, it completely fails.
So, to solve this, we're going to follow a clear roadmap today. We'll briefly cover the end of chess, playing the squash strategy, the power of fast failure, your continuous leadership toolset, and finally, building with ethical purpose. This framework is going to give you some seriously actionable clarity for the future.
All right, section 1, the end of chess. Because, to understand where we're going, we really have to understand what we're leaving behind. Gawdat actually started his career coding these massive mainframes. And back in that era, corporate strategy was this slow-moving, highly predictable beast.
The old model of success was pretty straightforward. You'd forecast 4 to 5 years ahead, plot out a rigid plan, and then just execute diligently to win. It was exactly like a game of chess. You planned your moves out long in advance, anticipating a totally fixed set of rules. But Gawdat warns that this traditional 5-year planning, it's now a massive liability. The chessboard is totally gone. If you try to play by those old rules today, you're essentially planning for a future that won't even exist by the time you get there.
Moving to section 2, playing the squash strategy. This is the absolute core strategic pivot required for any leader to survive and thrive right now. We basically have to step off the chessboard and step right onto the squash court.
And this brilliantly illustrates the difference. Chess is all about rigid execution based on a long-term forecast. But a game of squash? In squash, you are constantly on your tiptoes. You have no idea exactly where the ball is going to bounce next. When it goes right, you take 2 quick steps, hit it, and immediately return to the center of the court to wait for the next bounce. This high-contrast metaphor is everything. Fluid reaction and agility. Those are your new competitive advantages. If you insist on playing chess in the middle of a squash court, you are for sure going to lose.
So what is the concrete return on investment for this kind of agility? How about $800 million? Gawdat shares this incredible anecdote about a startup called Emma. They spent 7 months geeking out, building this AI product aimed at deep human connection. They were all set to launch on March 1st, but on February 28th, the entire AI landscape shifted drastically. Now, instead of crumbling because their perfect chess plan was ruined, they played squash. They pivoted overnight, built another side of the product, and just 8 months later, they hit an $800 million valuation. Incredible, right?
That brings us to section 3, the power of fast failure. Executing this squash strategy means you actually have to fundamentally change your relationship with losing. Any good squash player knows that losing a quick point or even a game doesn't really matter, as long as you're learning and adjusting so you can win the overall match.
Gawdat learned this intimately during his time as chief business officer at Google X, which you might know as the Moonshot Factory. Their whole approach empowered free innovation without getting stuck in these massive, sinking investments that would drown the company. They would evaluate projects and approve almost every single idea that came through the door. I mean, literally, as long as it didn't violate the laws of physics, they'd say yes.
But they attached one massive condition to that funding. They'd say, come back in 2 weeks and try to prove yourself wrong. This is the ultimate agility condition. Google X would be just as thrilled if a team failed as they would be if they succeeded. Actually, sometimes teams would walk out, do the math, and return the funds by the end of the day. Making mistakes cheaply, quickly, and immediately returning to the center of the court, that is the ultimate form of strategic agility.
Okay, section 4, your continuous leadership toolset. How do you, as a founder or global leader, actually maintain this agility in the real world? Well, Gawdat gives us some very specific, actionable homework.
So the crucial point is this simple 4-step loop. Number 1, sit down with a language model like Claude or Gemini and describe your background and your ambitions. Number 2, Ask the AI to tell you exactly what new AI tools you need to learn to achieve those goals. Number 3, wake up the next day and start mastering those tools. And number 4, repeat this entire exercise every few weeks. This continuous learning loop is your absolute best engine for gaining strategic clarity for the future. It ensures you're never caught flat-footed. Because, let's face it, we're living in a mind-blowing new reality. Gawdat says, we've commoditized intelligence. There's a plug in the wall where you can plug in and get more insight. Just like you plug a cord into a wall for electricity, you now plug into your device for on-demand intelligence, mathematics, and deep knowledge. This empowers leaders to build faster and way more efficiently than at any other point in human history.
Finally, Section 5, building with ethical purpose. When you have commoditized intelligence at your fingertips and ultimate agility, what is the broader vision? What does it actually take to have true, lasting, global impact?
Take the IBM earthquake deal, for example. Early in his career, Gawdat sold a massive $4 million tech deal to the Egyptian Ministry of Education to help rebuild schools after a devastating earthquake. But a few weeks later, he realized the tech wouldn't actually work for the students. Now, most salespeople would just take that commission and run, right? Gawdat didn't. He went directly to the minister and canceled his own $4 million order. He prioritized the greater good over his own immediate selfish gain. And in doing so, he gained immense trust. 3 weeks later, the minister called him back with a brand new request, which resulted in a $16 million direct order.
That story just perfectly encapsulates Gawdat's philosophy. When you try to benefit life, life goes like, I have your back. I'm going to do the work for you. He insists that if you push against the mainstream of life just to benefit yourself, it's a constant uphill fight. But if you align with the greater good, opportunities naturally open up. He offers this simple ethics test for leaders. If you wouldn't want your own loved ones on the receiving end of your product, just don't build it. Period.
Think about life and, by extension, your leadership like a video game with physics. It's supposed to be challenging. Look, if a video game is too easy, it's boring. You have to engage with the challenges and actually enjoy playing the game. Your objective isn't just to hoard coins or win a single level. It's to become the absolute best gamer you have the potential to be.
And hey, every great video game has a cheat code, right? According to Gawdat, the ultimate cheat code to unlocking immense global impact is love. I know, it sounds a little surprising in a hard business context, but it really means deciding to dedicate your incredible, unique gifts to the benefit of others. When you lead from that place, life literally clears the path for you.
We have covered a lot of ground today, from completely abandoning the chessboard to embracing fast failure and wielding AI with deep ethical purpose. So, I want to leave you with this. What legacy are you building on the squash court of the future? The tools have never been faster, and the board has never been more unpredictable. It is your move. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.